All right, guys, we are back after several months for another battle report. I'm here with Hunter. We're going to be playing a mission from the Tallarn book, and we're going to be playing the Armored Engagement mission. And so we're going to be deploying on the short edges of the table. The primary objective at the end of the battle is to get armored detachments into the opponent's deployment zone. And the secondary primary objective is to destroy complete enemy detachments every round of the game for 3 victory points each. So I will be playing my Solar Auxilia, Hunter will be playing his Alpha Legion, and for secondary objectives, I have chosen the Armored Dominance secondary objective, and Hunter is going to be playing the Glory Kill secondary objective, and that involves killing. Basically, I only have 6 armored detachments, so he's chosen 5 of those to destroy for victory points over the course of the game. So we're going to transition and show you our armies, and then we'll get started.
All right, so my set of units here is pretty simple. I've got 4 Punishers, 4 Arcus. I've got a full squadron of Sabers. They are mixed weapon composition between the neutron lasers and the Anvilus. I've got 4 Kratos in the back, and then just because I had the points for them, we've got 3 Predators with las cannons up front. And all of them, regardless of what they may be modeled as, are going to be running las cannon secondaries. So
nice.
Simple force, anti-tank.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move over to my Solar Auxilia. All right, so this is my Solar Auxilia force. It's composed of 2 formations. On the right, I have the Tallarn Carmine Ambush Tercio. So that's composed of 2 detachments of Ethon Heavy Sentinels, 1 detachment of Vanquisher Leman Russ, 1 Annihilator Leman Russ, and 1 Executioner Leman Russ. So that's plasma cannons, las cannons, and Vanquisher cannons in the turret, and then everything has las cannons in the hull. Part of the special rule for this Tercio is that it has the scout and forward deployment special rules. So the scout, I believe, gives it +1 to cover saves, and forward deployment, obviously, you know what that does. The second formation is composed of a Stormblade and then 1 detachment of Battle Cannon Leman Russ and 1 detachment of 4 Demolisher Leman Russ. The Battle Cannons have heavy bolters in the hull, and the Demolishers have las cannons in the hull, which I have not shown here, but they are las cannons. So I think the special rule for the mechanized iconic formation here is that they have nimble as long as the tank commander is still alive. So I'm interested to try these iconic formations. They're kind of one of the things that more interested me about the Liber Strategia. So I'm curious to see how they perform on the table, even though I think some of the weapon choices like the plasma cannon are not particularly optimal. But we got a great table set up. I really like the Tallarn missions, and I hope you guys enjoy the game.
All right. So for my forward deployments, I chose my Kratos, my Arcus, and of course my Sabers. I went ahead and pushed the Arcus up onto the difficult terrain plateau, so they've got the capability to use that first fire and the ripple fire effect. The Kratos, they are just trying to push in as fast as they can. They're a little slow, a little unwieldy, so that's why I chose them. And then the Sabers with that 11-inch forward deploy definitely pushes them up into combat range a little bit faster with that short-range neutron cannon. But other than that, pretty simple deployment. Just going to go in and try to kill as many tanks as I can.
Nice. And then on my side, I deployed my Leman Russ Demolishers, hopefully to counter the Kratos with those AP -3 weapons. And then I've got the battle cannons to move up to hopefully deal with some of the lighter armor as well. In the center, I placed my Vanquishers, try to cover as much of the table as I can, and they can react to wherever they need to be. And then I also shifted over my Ethon Sentinels there, just because Hunter was placing so much of his force, so much of his heavy stuff um, on our left there. So trying to react a little bit to that, and then the same thing with these Ethons here, trying to move them over to give myself a little bit more mass on the left flank there. I deployed my Leman Russ Annihilators and the Executioners to the edge of this acid cloud region here. So they are going to gain some benefit from the cover. And then I've got my tank commander in the Stormblade right there. I did miss position to a certain extent because the Leman Russ Annihilators are out of command range, so they're not going to be able to go on first fire, which is going to be not good for them. Other than that, it's going to be, I think, a pretty quick game. It is just armor today, and that was just something we wanted to do, or I wanted to do, because it has been a while for me playing Legions Imperialis, so I kind of wanted to get back into the swing of things before injecting too many complex combined arms elements. So I hope you're looking forward to the game. We'll check back in with you after we finish our movement on turn 1.
All right, so I messed up and put the wrong token on my Arcus, so they went ahead and just moved forward and got off of the dune. They will be able to fire, though. Other than that, the Punishers marched as fast as they can to try to get within that 12-inch range, so next turn they will be able to be effective. The Sabres went ahead and crossed over to center utilizing their march and effectively put them in safety from pretty much everything. The Kratos just did a standard movement forward. They're going to be able to fire this turn, and then the Predators are making their way up to the dunes as well over there.
All right. And to counter the push on my left, I just moved up my Demolishers and the Battle Cannon Leman Russ to the base of the dune, mostly because I wasn't quite sure where Hunter was going to put his Kratos, so I didn't want to commit and expose them without having the chance to fire back. So the idea here is we're going to stay in cover until we can all expose ourselves, if that I can say that without without sounding too strange. So we can unmask our guns. That's a better phrase. Yeah. In a simultaneously. So that's the thought there. Ethons have repositioned. I put these guys out front kind of as a skirmish line. So hopefully they might be able to put some fire with their missile launchers and disrupt the push from the Sabres. And then, of course, I have the Vanquishers here in the back. And on the right, the Annihilators, Sentinels, and Stormblade are here in the obscuring terrain, forming a firing line facing off against the Arcus and the Punishers, which are flanking around to the right. And then, as you can see here, I pushed up the Executioners to the base of this dune here, keeping them as concealed as possible, and hoping to get in range and maybe get an outflank with those plasma cannons. They do have las cannons in the hull, so they'll be able to do something even against fairly serious armor. But hopefully we'll be able to make those plasma cannons as effective as possible today. So that is the end of turn 1 movement, and we're going to go ahead and do combat, and we'll check in with you after that. So it's pretty quiet over here on the left flank. As I mentioned in the movement wrap-up, my Leman Russ were staying tucked behind this dune here, so they were out of line of sight of basically anything. The Vanquishers on the hill here were able to do a wound to one of the Kratos in the far distance there. And then Hunter was able to destroy, I think with the Arcus, right? My Ethon Sentinels that were occupying this sort of skirmish line here in the center. Over here on the right, the combined fire of the Stormblade and the Annihilators was able to destroy the Arcus detachment moving up the table there. And then, of course, over here on the right, we had no fire from the Punishers or the Executioners just because of, obviously, they were on march orders, so they could not fire. So, pretty quick turn. We're going to go ahead and wrap up there. I have 3 victory points so far for destroying the Arcus detachment, and we'll check back in with you after movement turn 2.
All right, so we went ahead and pushed the Punishers up along the flank. I was going to just basically deter this group of Russ over here from pushing over the hill or back. They're still in a good place to be able to fire. The Sabres went ahead and moved up, so they're now within a good range. They've got range on all the neutron cannons have range on his Russ over here except for one. We went ahead and pushed the Kratos left to get them out of the open from that first fire on the Vanquishers, and then my Predators are just the sacrificial lambs over there that needed to move to pull a certain movement a certain way. So, yep. RIP to them.
Yeah, so that it's one of the nice things about having fewer detachments. It's a little easier to keep track of things, but you can see I've got a position up here on the dune, just like Hunter just said. Positioned quite a bit of my force here to counter the movement of the Kratos. So with them out of position, maybe next turn I'll be able to push them up the table some, maybe get around the flank, but we'll see. Vanquisher is still here in the center. I'm not sure. I might be able to get a shot or two. It's looking unlikely. And then I've still got my Leman Russ Annihilators, Stormblade, and then I pulled my Executioners back. I was thinking about pushing them up over that dune, but I just felt like I was overextending myself there. So I thought it would be better to pull back, try to develop the situation a little bit more, and then push forward. And then I've got my Ethon Sentinels hanging out here in the back, or in the front, and acting as, I don't know.
More sacrificial lambs.
Yes, that's right. Skirmish line. Skirmish line is the euphemism, I think. So
fixed sentinel bayonets.
That's right, yeah. So, okay, guys. So that is our movement for turn 2. We're going to do combat, and we'll check in with you after that. All right, so this is the end of combat turn 2. On the left flank, I lost 2 of my Leman Russ to fire from the Predators and didn't do any damage in return. Over here, the Demolishers were able to put a little bit of fire from their las cannons onto the Sabres, just to the left of the column there. And the Vanquishers, I think they were able to do some damage to the Arcus, right?
Yeah, that was the Punishers.
Punishers. And that's over there just to the right of the dunes. Over here on the right, the Annihilators, and yeah, the Annihilators were able to destroy some of the, I keep forgetting their name, the Sabres, thank you. And then the Stormblade was able to knock out enough of the Punishers to force a morale check, and they're going to be falling back at the end of this turn. Hunter's Sabres with the Neutron Pulse did put fire onto the Executioners. They destroyed one, but maybe more importantly, the Neutron Pulse restricted me to firing with just one weapon. So they were able to return fire with just the plasma cannon. I think it did pretty good. I think the Sabres are a pretty good target for the plasma cannon. They're light armor, so having that light AT trait on the plasma cannon is maybe not such a handicap. So yeah, this Kratos maneuvered very well up into the center here, hiding them from the Vanquishers, and they're ready for a push moving forward in the next turn.
And we did take out your entire Sentinel band there as well.
That is true. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so all these guys we were talking about being the skirmish line right there have now gone. So they are out of the game. As far as score goes, I think that's going to be another 3 points for me for destroying the Sabres. And I think that wraps it up. So we will do movement turn 3 and check back in with you after that. All right, this is the end of movement turn 3. Just basically maneuvered the Leman Russ here to counter Hunter's Push with the Kratos. And then I've left the rest of my gun line here in the obscuring terrain. The Leman Russ Demolishers have pushed up, hopefully to try to get into range of the Kratos, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough, but we'll see. They still got the las cannon, so they might be able to do something. And then I just repositioned a little bit here in the rear to try to destroy those Predators before the end of the turn. So that's about it. We're going to do combat real quick and then check in with you after that. All right, guys. So this is the end of combat turn 3 and the end of the game. Over here, the Leman Russ Vanquishers were able to clear out the Predators occupying the deployment zone. And then the Demolishers were able to do a little bit of damage to the Kratos, but combined between them, the Annihilators, and the Stormblade, we were able to knock out 2 of them this turn. And in return, I lost the full remainder of the Plasma, the Executioner Leman Russ. And that's about it. So I think we're going to call the game there. I appreciate Hunter humoring me with this one. It was a nice, quick, easy game. I do like the armor-only missions just because they're a little simpler. It's just easier to keep track of and move things around. But I think for this game, it was fairly obvious, and we've talked about this before on the channel, about how the Solar Auxilia armor is pretty in a class of its own.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful compared to the non-competitively short range of everything Astartes, as well as just the armor saves across the board for Solar Aux are better and they stay more consistent, whereas the Sabres being only a 4-up, they're pretty easy to eat through.
Yeah, I mean, everything actually on the table for me has a 2-up save.
Yep. Other than the Sentinels, which was basically the only thing I could wipe in a turn.
And combine that with the shorter range of the Astartes is pretty handicapping. So hopefully with the new Fellblade, especially just the accelerator cannon one, we'll see maybe some of that balance swing back towards the Astartes.
Yeah, especially that, and the Cerberus also has a 24-inch range, so I think that will level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, because there's just so many las cannons. I mean, even forgetting about the Vanquisher cannon with its 32-inch range, even just the basic las cannon that this Solar Auxilia can just field so many of, even that basic weapon is outranging almost every Astartes weapon, even the main gun.
Yeah, my main guns on the Arcus Kratos are 20. All of the smaller armor, or the Punishers, were 12. Sabres were 12 and 16. So it's really just I had to push, but at the same time, the push was the loss. Yeah.
So Tallarn is a great campaign. I love seeing tanks on the table. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. We should have more for you coming up, and we hope you enjoyed the game and you'll stick around and continue watching and enjoying the battle reports that we enjoy making. So, thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.